And welcome in to another episode of Off Script. My name is Zak Herbstreit, and college football fans, rejoice. We got spring ball finally here after about a month and a half of a hiatus from football, because I guess the college football season does go to late January now, which is still ridiculous to me. But after a month and a half of waiting, we finally have college football here, so enjoy it, savor it. But in today's video, I want to talk about what's kind of the next step for Julian Sayin heading into this 2026 season. But before I get into that, if you enjoy college football, if you enjoy this channel, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. It really helps me out a lot, so I appreciate you guys. But let's get into it here. I know a lot of people, when hearing that, their first question is, what do you mean by next step? Like, he had an incredible season last year. He threw for 3,610 yards, 32-8 touchdown interception ratio, 88.4 QBR. He also beat Texas, beat Michigan for the first time since 2019. He went to the Big Ten championship. He was a Heisman finalist as well. So, like, what do you mean? Like, what is the next step? But, you know, my thoughts on this, and I'll get into it here, kind of where do you go from there? And you're such a, you know, there's a ton of accolades, ton of successes from this past season. Kind of where do you go from there? And let's get into it here. Here are kind of my thoughts here. First things first, just the improvement on Julian Sayin's play. I think running the ball is going to be huge in this upcoming season. And what I mean by running the ball is when there is pressure from either a defensive lineman in your face or a blitzing linebacker, is just to tuck the ball and go with it. Because I feel like more recently, the teams that do the best during the season or in the playoff are the teams that have a quarterback that can scare you with their legs. Look at Carson Beck for Miami last year. He was more of a pocket passer guy throughout the entire season. And then in the Ole Miss game, he basically won them the game by him being unaccounted for and scrambling to the left corner of the end zone and scoring. And then also Fernando Mendoza in the national championship game, who was definitely a lot more agile, I feel like, in the playoff, but specifically in the championship game when that 4th and 5 play and it was a QB draw called, and he basically willed his team to victory. That's kind of what I want to see out of Julian Sayin this upcoming year, willing his team to victory. He's kind of the driver of the team right now. Last year, I feel like the defense was a big part. The receivers obviously are going to be a huge part of the team, but this is kind of his time to be like, hey, I'm going to kind of win these games now. Like, I have the ability, I have the confidence, I can win these games now. And I'm not saying he's got to be Lamar Jackson out there juking people, but on a third down or something like that, scrambling and let's just go get yards. Go out there and get some yards, man. That's I think for his game, that's the biggest thing of improvement that I see. But moving on as well, I think experience wins the big games, and last year, not a crazy amount of big games. Obviously, Texas, there was that Michigan game. You can argue the Washington game as well, but when you finally got to the nitty-gritty Indiana, Miami, the team just kind of didn't show up to play, in my opinion. And I've been there. I've played on those teams before, and when you play against a team those matchup games, it's hard. And this Ohio State team does have an extremely hard schedule coming up. I made a video on it a couple weeks ago, but just kind of quick spark notes here. They play at Texas, they play at Iowa, they play at Indiana, have Oregon at home and Michigan at home. So those are 5 pretty hard games coming up, and adversity is going to hit. Those are all pretty matchup games right there, so they're not always going to go to plan. So I think Julian Sayin needs to use what he learned from last year, from the failures, from the successes that he learned, and basically just go into those games with no fear, no hesitation, and trust the pieces around him, because you have a veteran offensive line coming back. Trust that offensive line. I know it was a little shaky in that Miami game, but they're a stout unit. They're a really, really, really good unit. And also trust the receivers out there, and they're pretty easy to trust. I mean, they're freaks out there. It's an NFL factory. But Julian Sayin going into this season, I feel like, should kind of have that chip on his shoulder, being like, okay, I have a year under my belt. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like, yet again, a breakout season should be coming up. And I also want to talk about the addition of new offense coordinator Arthur Smith, because with an improved run game, the job gets a lot easier for Julian Sayin. And I already kind of talked about this veteran offensive line group coming back and all the starters. There's a majority of the starters are coming back, which is huge for this Ohio State offensive line. But that coupled with the NFL experience from Arthur Smith, and specifically I want to talk about the early 2020s Titans team, and that is my team, so I'm a little biased here, but their ability to run the ball in 2019, 2020, 2021 was astounding. And granted, they did have Derrick Henry, so that is a little bit of a cheat code. But still, the fact remains, if this Ohio State offensive line just unit in general can average 4 to 5 yards a carry throughout the entirety of the season, the amount of explosive plays that creates for Julian Sayin and this receiver core on the outside, you might as well just hand them the national championship trophy at that point. I mean, I'm kidding, obviously, but still, they're going to be an extremely, extremely great offense to watch. But Ohio State fans, I want your thoughts on this. What are you kind of expecting from this offense this upcoming year? I'm really eager to hear from you guys. But like I said, if you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel as well. I'll see you guys soon.